First up is a piece that appeared in Wednesday's issue of Quality Digest Daily. Excellence is not an event, it's a habit, by Dr. Zhou, who is Ford's Executive Technical Leader for Global Quality. Dr. Zhou's article neatly addresses an issue that many of you confront, namely how organizations can establish a unified culture of quality across the enterprise. This is a particularly important topic for those companies like Ford, with operations, partners, suppliers, and customers across the globe. So to address these issues more deeply, we're very, very pleased now to be joined by Dr. Zhou. We're going to welcome him to the show via Skype. Dr. Zhou, are you with us?
Okay, hi, Mike, and hi, and Dirk, and nice to see you on this camera.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
Great, great. How about you?
Oh, we're doing great here.
We're doing great. Well, we want to jump right into it, Dr. Zhou. We want to ask you a little bit about your article. In the piece, you talk about the infrastructure, the processes, the time and data management, and the tools of quality. Now, how do you communicate all this information through a vast enterprise like Ford that spans very many different nations and cultures?
Okay. Mike and Dirk, first I want to thank you for having me on the program. Also thank the audience and the viewers on this program. At the Ford, we do these things by standardize the quality operating system. By standardize the information flow, I mean we collect voice for customers in a standard way. And then we organize, prioritize, use those feedback in a standard way. And secondly, by infrastructure, we mean we have a standardized team structure. For example, we have a variability reduction team at every plant, every facility we build vehicles. Then we also have a standardized vehicle functional group at every engineering centers. By a standardized time and data management, I mean we have a standardized meeting cadence. For example, planned quality meeting every day, and the product development quality review every week. We have a standard agenda and the meeting cadence and so forth. By standardize the process and the tools, that means, for example, we have a global product development system. Now we also have a standard tools for problem solving, for example, DMAC. So that's how we communicate with all of the facilities around the world. So we use the standardized quality operating system.
But Dr. Zhou, I mean, one thing that interests me on this, though, is so you have plants all over the world. You have plants in China, you have plants in the United States, plants in Italy, and so forth. How do you, I guess what I'm curious about is, aren't there cultural differences so that when you're trying to introduce or talk about these standards, do you have to present them in a different way, let's say in China, than you might present them in the United States, just given cultural perceptions, cultural differences?
No, we present them to every trip or every review we have. Basically, it's the journey of learning and teaching and applying. And then our quality operating system basically is a standardized dictionary. So we talk in the same language, of course the speaking language is different, but our quality operating system is the standard dictionary. So therefore, no matter which country or which market or which facility, we communicate in the review and the teaching and whatever. So we have a standard dictionary. So therefore, we just make sure we make it relevant to the customer over there and their usage, their environmental conditions, and so forth.
Okay.
To make it, yeah, go ahead.
Could you maybe give us an example of a best practice, perhaps, that you shared from one plant in one part of the world that you brought to another plant in another part of the world, or to all of your plants, perhaps?
Yeah. So then, give an example. Let's say for the air leakage tester, right? So we have air leakage testing for some equipment at every plant, and then we do that since in the same way. Maybe first time one plant did that, and then we replicate it to other plants. And another example is was headlamp leak test, right? So we come out the way and we put the headlamps in the water tank, right? Then we see where's the bubble, right? Then doing that, and then we standardize that method, and then we share with all of the facility around the world.
Okay, now, Dr. Zhou, I know one thing that's really important to Ford is listening to your customers, obviously the voice of the customer. Now, is that done, is the customer feedback and how that works into your suppliers and so forth, is that unique to each country? So in other words, voice of the customer in the United States might be different than the voice of the customer in Italy, voice of the customer in China, and so forth?
Yeah, the voice of the customers in different regions or different countries might be different, but we have a standardized way to collect voice of a customer. For example, we have a so-called global quality research system to collect voice of a customer or voice of a customer feedback at the different markets. For example, North America, South America, Europe, Asia Pacific, and Africa. So we have a standard way to collect the voice of our customers, and then therefore we know what difference between the different countries and then what's the difference in the voice of a customer.
And I think when we were talking the other day, you gave me a couple of good examples of how things that might be important in one country or maybe not important in one country are important in the other, just based on the differences in how they use your vehicles. Now, you mentioned something about horns and I think windows. Can you tell us those stories again?
Yeah, so for example, in India or in China, right, the customers over there use the horns quite often.
Oh, the horns, they're car horns.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, car horns, like in the U.S., right? And then I forgot when was the last time I used the horn.
In the U.S., right?
In the U.S., yeah. But the customer over China and India, they use that quite often. Another examples, for example, in China, they use they open the window and quite often because there are lots of toll booths on the highway, right? So that's those the unique difference and customer usage.
So what you're saying is that things like horns and windows, where we may not use them quite as vigorously in the United States, in other countries like China or Malaysia or whatever, they're always using the horn. They're rolling down the windows, like you said in China, a lot for toll booths. So those windows and those horns have to be what, more robust or tested more, or how?
Therefore we have to design our system to meet the customer's requirements over there. So that's kind of a feedback process, right? We listen to the customers, then we translate the customer voice of a customer into the engineer specification, then we design to the specification. Therefore, we meet the customer needs over there.
Okay. Dr. Zhou, many of our readers and our viewers are operating internationally, of course, and you, in your position with Ford, of course, have a great insight into best practices in terms of working internationally. What would you say are some of the most important things that our users should know about operating in terms of process, in terms of suppliers, customers in different countries across the world?
Yeah, so for me, it's first to listen to the people over there and then seek to understand what they mean and what's their needs and what's their want. And therefore, then work with them closely and try to engage and make everything resonate as much as possible, relevance, and make a reference to the customer, to the people, or our partners, suppliers, dealers, or engineers over there. Make it as relevant as possible. Seek to understand what they mean. Yeah.
When you say stay relevant, I mean, I guess obviously you're talking about the voice of the customer, and you're talking about asking, kind of very, very penetrating questions. What are some of the ways that you would do that? I mean, it's from a distance, it can be difficult. Do you have to rely on your partners in those areas?
Yes, and then of course we have a global team, and we also have a regional quality team, also regional in the plant and the suppliers and so forth. So just to stay connected with them and understand the cultures over there, understand the customers over there, understand the environment conditions over there, understand even government regulatory requirements over there. Just try to understand the situation over there. Then you work with them and speak with them and communicate with them. Then you make it more relevant, and then you are not like just come from the U.S. and talk the language they don't understand, and I don't understand them. So just make to learn from each other, apply together. So that's one of the experience I learned over the last 10 or 20 years with the foreign worker company.
Okay, well, Dr. Zhou, thank you for joining us today. Our time is up. I really appreciate you taking your time out of your busy schedule to join us.
Thank you, Derek, and thank you, Mike, and also thanks to the viewers and the audience on this program. Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.